For those of us who spend too much of our time in noisy traffic, it's easy to forget that it is possible to escape from it all. There is still plenty of peaceful, open country. What we sometimes lack is access to it. Walkers travelling south from Lewes can use the public footpaths which run along the banks of the river, but access for the disabled is limited because of many unsuitable gates and stiles. Although cyclists are not entitled to use the footpath, many do so regularly, undeterred by the same challenges. Since the millennium, the village parishes along the lower Ouse Valley investigated the possibility of building a cycle track along the C7, which runs the 7 miles from Lewes to Newhaven. It was hoped that the cycle path would provide a safe and convenient alternative to the car for residents and visitors. Regretfully, after many years of exploring the feasibility of the project, it was shelved, when no practical route could be identified. However, in 2010, there were two important announcements which generated renewed enthusiasm for the project, although with a significant change of direction. One was the Environment Agency's announcement that they would continue to maintain the banks of the River Ouse for the next 100 years. This would prevent the lower valley reverting to a floodplain if sea levels continue to rise. The other was the creation of the South Downs National Park, with its twin proposals of conserving the natural beauty and wildlife while promoting access to the extraordinary landscape which it encompasses. These developments led to the realization that a surfaced multi-user track running parallel to the river was now a practical alternative to the route originally envisaged along the C7 road. The goal of linking the villages could be achieved through a network of connecting tracks, linking them to the main route. It was with this outcome in mind that the Ouse Valley Cycle Network project was created in 2011.
The South Downs National Park has been in existence for 2 years now. The main purposes of the park are obviously protecting the important landscape of the South Downs, but also education and enjoyment for people, local people and visitors, and supporting rural communities and the rural economy. The Ouse Valley is a key area within the eastern end of the park, largely because it sits between an important town of Lewes and the coast, but also the South Downs Way National Trail, which runs the whole length of the South Downs National Park, runs across the Ouse Valley at a sort of midway point. And that's one reason we're very keen to support this project.
The first stage, a dedicated cycle path linking Kingston and Lewes, has been completed. Gus Christie owns some of the land where the cycle path would run.
I am a very keen cyclist, and I am more than happy for this new cycle path to go over my land, and I really hope that it encourages many people to cycle down it. It's a beautiful river, and it's a lovely valley, and I think people will enjoy cycling down it as much as I do. Currently there are a few hazards, there are a few stiles over which one has to pick up one's bike and everything, and it obviously would be a lot easier if there was a simple path without any of these hazards, especially for the less able people who want to go cycling on here. So I'm all for it, and I think it's a very exciting new venture.
We really do want this infrastructure in place so that we can connect those people, from people in Newhaven who'd like to link up with the villages to people in villages who'd like to link up with Lewes and Newhaven and each other. And creating these connected communities creates a resilience in the Ouse Valley so that people can get about more easily without having to use their cars, and to connect with each other socially and for work, for education, and for all the reasons that one would want to connect.
There's a lot to be seen in the Ouse Valley. Birds of 64 different species have been sighted, carefully logged by Michael Blenko.
In the winter it's fantastic. You have all the ducks coming in, the swans, and also birds like short-eared owl and hen harrier will come down in the winter and be hunting across the brooks there. So it's great to be able to think you have access right down through the valley to see all this lovely wildlife. As you move out of Lewes, you have peregrines and ravens nesting on the cliffs. As you move down through the river, you'll see little egrets, the lovely white herons that we've recently moved into Britain. Also, at this time of year, you'll start seeing birds coming up from Africa. So migrant birds, the swallows and the swifts will be moving in. And these river valleys do channel the migrants. So you do see lots of these lovely migrant birds coming in.
Commercial enterprises along the route would also benefit from an integrated cycle network.
We've been here for about 12 years. We rely on most of our trade as passing trade, or from the South Downs Way, the walkers and the cyclists are a very important part of our trade. I think for us the benefits of a cycle network are that from a commercial standpoint it's incredibly important for us to increase our trade, especially in the economic downturn that we're in. And the cycle network, as it is now, it's incomplete. It doesn't link the villages. We get lots of comments from cyclists and from walkers how dangerous the C7 is, how it's not safe to cycle on. I think that if the cycle network was approved and came in, it would be incredibly important for us. We get a lot more trade as a business, and we'd be able to welcome our customers on a much safer level as well, for them to be able to get here.
Sustrans is the sustainable transport charity that works with communities and with individuals to encourage them to walk and cycle more as part of their everyday life. Sustrans is delighted to be involved with the Ouse Valley Cycle Network project, and earlier this year we were commissioned by the Ouse Valley Cycle Network group to carry out a feasibility study to see if there could be a network of walking and cycling routes developed between Lewes and Newhaven. The report concludes that the route itself can easily be developed in a number of stages over a number of years, depending on the availability of funding. But I think most importantly, it clearly demonstrated the massive demand for this type of network in this area. All of the villages, there's a huge support for the programme. Local businesses are clearly wanting this to be developed. Local politicians support it too. And importantly, local landowners really are assisting in the development of this route. So it is a very, very feasible set of networks, and it could easily be developed within a very short period of time, over a number of years.
This certainly began with local communities wanting safe routes to get away from the roads so they could connect with their villages, their friends in other villages, their schools, South East Railway Station, on safe cycle routes, and at the same time something which is environmentally friendly and will be good for the environment, will be good for their own health and well-being. The project was primarily one for cycling, and the organisation behind this is called the Ouse Valley Cycle Network. But now we have a broader view and want to embrace more people, so it becomes a multi-user path for not only cyclists, walkers, people with disabilities. Even some of the path will be suitable for mobility scooters and certainly for pushchairs. So this is much more embracing, and I think the fact we now use the name Egrets Way reflects this change.
I was able, because of prudent financial management, to find £15 million, which I allocated £7 million to improving connections between bicycling and railway travel, cycle rail integration to improve facilities at railway stations such as Lewes, but also £8 million to Sustrans, who have a very good record at working up cycle routes. Nationally, I indicated to them I wanted to connect communities, where communities, particularly people live and people work, but other connections as well. They came forward with a range of schemes which are ready to go, and I'm delighted that one of them is in my constituency, between Lewes and Kingston. I know many people in Lewis want to cycle, but they don't feel necessarily very safe to do so, or they don't feel the routes are there. So this is about helping the 43% of people who own a bicycle to get out and cycle. 2% of journeys are by bike, 43% is the penetration and ownership. So people have bikes, they want to cycle, and I think what I should be doing and trying to do is make it easier for them to do so.
John Parry is director of the Railway Land Project, based at the Linklater Pavilion in Lewis and run by the Railway Land Wildlife Trust.
Well, for me, the ability to go down the Ouse Valley on a bike like this and get away from the traffic is fantastic. For me, the cycle route isn't just a functional route, it is actually a route to get into places that have an awe about them, a magic about them. And the Ouse Valley has got just that. We're linking as well the idea of linking nature reserves and wildlife areas as part of the whole Living Landscapes campaign. Here's a way of riding that link, of making the physical connections between those small reed beds and larger nature reserves that are such an important part of our countryside.